Now this is a really strange experience for me, because I'm talking to Keri, and Keri has his name spelled exactly the same way as mine. Commander Keri Harries joins me. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Keri.
Have you ever met a Keri before, spelled the same way?
Not a male one.
This is it, isn't it? I've had a good old natter about that when you ring up companies and they expect a woman to turn up when you go and pick something up.
As a child I won a few art competitions and I was a bit embarrassed to win the girls' prize because I forgot to put that I was a boy. So things like that have happened, but it makes you grow up capable of looking after yourself. A bit tougher, I guess.
And of course you've got a big ship, so nobody's going to mess with you now, are they?
No, but I do have another Keri on board, spelt the same way, and she's a New Zealand officer. And I've gone to great pains to explain to her that, you know, she's the one with the wrong gender name and that she's carrying a boy's name. But she refused to be convinced. But hopefully now you've redressed the balance and will convince her otherwise.
There's always a huge interest in the Royal Navy on the islands. I don't know why it is. Maybe you can tell us actually. I presume it's because we're islands and the water is so close to us and people think about it.
Yeah, I think so. You can't escape some maritime heritage living somewhere as beautiful as this in such close proximity to the water. And you're steeped in naval history and traditions. Everything a lot of stuff you need when you're building the schools. 17,000 tonnes of materials come in by sea, and you understand that island lifestyle. Now, Britain's like that, isn't it, as well? But the Navy has its part to play there.
You've been to see Julia Day and Philip Highgate today. Have you had a tour of the islands?
Not yet, but I have been in the past. I visited when I was flying helicopters from Calderos. We routinely, I'd say routine on training courses, used to come and do a bit of work for the Duchy, fixing coast paths and the like, and so I'm sort of familiar with St Mary's, but I'm hoping to venture further afield during this visit.
Well, one of the things that Philip always says is that we have to understand the importance of the Navy, because if there's ever, whatever it may be, some major incident, it's you guys that's got to get us out of the mire. Very
much so.
So why do you choose Scilly? Because you can go anywhere in the United Kingdom, can't you, obviously?
We can. We like to be seen around Britain, but we operate everywhere. The opportunity to come to Scilly really was because my ship's doing trials at the moment, and I was keen we came here. I think it ties in with your first question. That island affinity is something that if I bring my crew here, with our sort of first break during a trials period, somewhere where we don't venture to very often, with a lot going on, there's so much for them to do, and it's sort of tied in with sort of agenda I guess I'd push, which is a sort of healthy lifestyle, in tune with the maritime, getting people out in small boats for my crew, getting them familiar with that, because they've come from all over Britain and further afield from foreign Commonwealth countries. They haven't all had the privilege that perhaps we have growing up near the sea to sort of make full use of that. So some of my crews, gig rowing, it's their first sort of opportunity to get out in a small boat like that and take part in an event like this.
So can you describe the HMS Campbeltown now for people who have not had a chance to leave work and actually look out the window and see her today?
Look out the window, she's clearly grey, she's 150 metres long and she's a warship capable of deploying worldwide. She's just had a big refit lasting a year and she's in sort of top condition. We're now training the crew, doing trials to prove all the systems, so we're ready to go anywhere in the world that we're required to operate.
Do you know what sort of exercises you're going to be doing?
We are doing the sort of routine sort of training for a ship that prepares it to counter every sort of eventuality, sort of warfare, serial warfare training, and also disaster relief that you touched upon earlier, peace support operations. But it's the whole gambit of what a warship is capable of doing.
And how many people have you got on board at the moment?
We haven't got our full complement at the moment, but we work up to anything to sort of 270 at the moment. Out this weekend we've got 190. We've got other crew members supporting other ships at the moment.
When was the last time some people on board generally went ashore then?
We've been working from Plymouth recently, which is our home port, but this is our first visit and venture away from our base port since we had our refit in Scotland. So routinely we're at sea doing trials all week. We get a brief respite occasionally over the weekends. This is our first opportunity to come somewhere that isn't a naval base. So actually it's hugely symbolic to the ship, because we've sort of built up the crew from January this year and working the ship up, putting her through her paces as we've talked about to deploy worldwide.
Are you going to have many coming ashore over the weekend?
I hope so. I hope they all come ashore at some stage over the weekend. Clearly we have to leave an element on board to look after the ship, and particularly if the weather deteriorates, but your forecast looks like it's going to be pretty good for us. But no, I've trying to find opportunities for them all to come ashore, and those that are not rowing that hopefully can get out to some of the other islands, we've brought surfboards and canoes, and hopefully you'll see us all out and about in the water at some stage, and clearly around Hewtown, enjoying the sort of hostelries and social life here, and those that are rowing involved with the socials tied in with the Gig World Championships as well.
Now, something we need to touch on, I suppose. I mean, this is going back into the mist of time, but there has been argy-bargy, minor incidents in the past with people coming ashore. Maybe a case of them getting shore leave when they've been at sea for a longer time. What's going to be done to make sure there isn't anything that occurs over the next couple of days? People perhaps coming ashore and going to the pubs. Are you quite strict on how the Navy is represented by people that come?
Well, I'm going to have to trust my crew, my people, to behave sensibly, sociably. They like fun, clearly, and most of them are pretty young. The average age is probably around 24, so they're going to want to sort of have a good time. Now, part of that is pushing the sort of agenda and active lifestyle with the surfing and the rowing. There's quite a lot to do there. We're also providing some visits for people to come to the ship. That keeps us fairly busy. We'll come and enjoy a drink or two in town, but I have to trust them. There is a discipline organisation, clearly, if people fall foul of that. And the message I get across to them is, if they're expecting a sort of stag week type venue, this isn't it. This is much more your sort of weekend break, with your girlfriend or whatever, and it's that kind of place. So regard it as that, and take advantage of the sort of good things that the islands have to offer that you would do on a sort of more, I wouldn't say low key because it's very different, but not a city type visit. I think that's probably where you may have encountered problems in the past.
It probably helps that you've been here before because you know what it's like.
Yeah.
We're not Newquay, are we?
Well, I think the other thing, not Newquay, no, and the other thing is I've got a lot of, probably 40 or so, of my ship's company for whom it's their first visit anyway, because they've come through training, they're in their first ship, so actually we set the benchmark now, don't we, here in Scillies and St Mary's, by giving them the opportunity to still have a good time and not necessarily fall out of step with how they should behave. But I don't think the Navy does that generally. I mean, the spirits will be running high with everybody, won't they, with the Gig World Championships, and it's just making sure there's no sort of catalyst or sparks for trouble. But I'm really not expecting anything like that from my ship's company. I'm very proud of them, and they know how to behave.
Now, of course, as you touched on earlier, you've got crew rowing this weekend, and there are other Navy crew as well who are taking part in the championships. Is there quite a bit of friendly rivalry going on here? There's a lot at stake, is there?
Well, we're rookies. We came here because we wanted to row in it. We've borrowed, very kindly, Dartmouth, Naval College at Dartmouth have let us use one of their gigs. We brought her across. We can sort of dare to hope, and we're hoping that we can win within our... For us, really, our aim is to try and beat all the other Navy teams, clearly, because we certainly can't take on the likes of Carrigan. We'll give them a good run for their money, but we're not in that league at all. It takes a lot of teamwork and effort, and my ship's programme's really tight and busy. And we've had very limited opportunities to train, but I've got some very fit, keen rowers. I've got some, as I say, it's their first opportunity to do an event like this, and so we're just here to have some fun, do the best we can, and just spend some time on the water, really.
So this is the thing people have been asking about, because you are unknown quantities as regards gig rowing, and we're wondering whether we're going to be shocked or horrified at how much training you've actually done. You might just be keeping quiet about this.
Wow, I can neither confirm or deny that.
We'll find out later though, in the course of time we'll reveal all. You're rowing yourself?
Yes, I am, yes, I'll row. Give away my age here. I'll be rowing in the veterans this evening, and then I'll be rowing in the men's team for the rest of the weekend.
How do you rate your chances? I ask everybody.
Mine personally, I'll probably come away with blisters, aches, pains, but isn't that what it's all about?
Exactly. And your crew?
Well, hopefully they'll come back with a bit of sunburn, but we'll see, that's down to the weather. But they, I mean, it's tough, it's hard work. I think that's the thing that struck most people. We've been practising on the River Dart, and we haven't had as much time out on the chop and on the water, so that'll be quite new for us. But we have an esprit de corps. It comes from working together all the time, so hopefully that will carry us through to a respectable result.
Well, we'll probably catch up with you a little bit later.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the rowing. I say to everybody, obviously, no favourites. You've got your call, Keri. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Keri.